All right, let's talk about the triangle angle sum theorem. So this is something that you guys are likely already sort of aware of, but that is that if I have any triangle, right, any real triangle, a triangle that's got three sides that are connected, forming a triangle, the sum of, well, I guess I should specify on a two-dimensional plane in 2D space, what we're normally used to working with. The sum of the interior angles is 180 degrees, right? You guys are used to this idea already, and you've likely heard it, but it's an important piece of information for us to cover. Okay, so I've got this triangle here, right? It's got three angles in it: angle A, angle B, and angle C, right? And so if I take the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C, then the sum of all the angles is 180 degrees, right? That essentially means that if I had this straight line here, and let's see here if I can, how well I can do this. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that. I thought I could. Sorry. But if I have, you have to imagine with me that I did this properly. Angle A and angle B is a bit bigger, so we'll go with angle B and angle C. If I were to stick them all together, then those angles should make up a straight line, right? And so sort of visually, that's what's happening. Now, the benefit to this is if I have any two angles, then I can find the third, right? The Pythagorean theorem, which we discussed previously, allows us to take any two sides and find the third. Now, the triangle angle sum theorem, which is just what I've mentioned here, allows us to take any two angles in a triangle and to find the third. So if I told you that measure of angle A is 35 degrees and the measure of angle B is, I don't know, let's go with 105 degrees, and we want to know the measure of angle C, then I can say that 35 plus 105, that should say degrees, sorry, plus measure of angle C, which we don't know, should equal 180 degrees, and then I can solve for that, right? So that's 140 plus measure of angle C, it's 180, and then I could subtract 140 from both sides and find that the measure of angle C is 40 degrees, right? So that's what the triangle angle sum theorem allows us to do. It allows us to find any missing angle in a triangle. Now, sort of a corollary, and so a corollary is just something that follows. It's like a special case. If I use my theorem for a special case, corollary is if I have a right triangle, right? And so you'll recall from a previous video that a right triangle is just a triangle with a singular right angle. Then my other two angles, angle B and angle C, angle C, those two angles add up to 90 degrees because one of our angles is already 90 degrees. And so if I take, so maybe I should write it all out, but measure angle, I'm going to use P for perpendicular or right angle, maybe I'll use R for right angle, plus measure angle B plus measure angle C equals 180. And we know that that's a right angle, so that's 90 degrees, right? And so I can subtract 90 degrees from both sides, right? And so you can see that if I add up the other two angles, angle B plus angle C, then they'll be equal to 90 degrees. So if I have a right triangle, then I can add up the two non-right angles to get 90. And so then I can just use the two of those to find whichever one is missing. So if I have a right triangle and I have either A or either B or either C, then I can find the other one using this. Now, if you forget this, it's not a big ideal, but it's worth mentioning. Obviously, if I know that that's 90 and I know B or C, then I can just use triangle sum theorem. But it's a nice little idea to think about and have, in the back of our head minds. Last thing I want to mention is the exterior angle theorem. All right, and so the exterior angle theorem tells us that if I've got a triangle like this, and I know, and we'll stick with the colors we've gone with, angle B and angle C, then this angle right here, which we'll call D, is equal to angle C plus angle B. All right, and so this again follows from the triangle angle sum theorem, because I know that if I add C plus B and subtract that from 180, then I can get this final angle here. Well, then if I subtract my green angle from 180, what I get back out is equivalent to C plus B. So it's another little shortcut theorem where if I forget it, it's not the biggest deal in the world. The one that you need to know, no matter what. Maybe I'll do it in green. Is a triangle angle sum theorem that all three add up to 180 degrees. But again, exterior angle is a nice little one to have in the back of your mind to save yourself some time. Okay, so maybe I should have labeled that C plus B. So the exterior angle, measure of angle D, is equal to measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C. Okay, and so we should be able to use the triangle angle sum theorem and the other ones that we may remember to solve for missing angles attached to triangles, right? Another thing that we'll frequently use is the idea of linear pairs, which we're already aware of, as well as vertical angles, which you should also be aware of. And so these are all tools that we'll be piecing together and using interchangeably to start to solve problems involving triangles, right? So these are the sorts of things that I would have a running list of to be able to go back and reference.